Welcome back to the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee playthrough. In this episode, we go through one of the most infamous dungeons in the Pokemon series, the Rock Tunnel. But the good news is that in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, it has become a lot easier, much more streamlined, and better yet, more efficient in terms of how we actually get through the tunnel. The reason for this has to do with a few things. Number one, they got rid of wild encounters. More accurately, random encounters. Wild encounters still exist, but you don't fight any of them, thank goodness, because normally I wish we actually got to keep the wild encounters, but because of Rock Tunnel's history, I can get away from that and not be too annoyed. In all honesty, this puzzle, this dungeon actually, because it's not really a puzzle, it's a maze, is probably the only low point in this game. After this, the game is only good. And even still, this rock tunnel is still better than any of the traversal in mountainous region in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I understand that some of you may be sick of me talking down about that game, but to me, Scarlet and Violet is to me what Sonic the Hedgehog for Next Gen was to Clement, if you followed his channel. It's a series that I grew up with, that I have a lot of fond memories with, that I have enjoyed over the years, only for them to come out with arguably the worst titles in the main series. Don't get me wrong, there are good aspects of Scarlet and Violet, but there are not enough good aspects to overwrite the bad. I have explained why I don't like Scarlet and Violet for the most part in the Scarlet and Violet Let's Play. It's actually a commentary, but for those who didn't see it, TLDR, it is a broken, buggy mess with horrible slowdown and fights that are not memorable due to how easy the game is. The writing is subpar, and for the most part, it's just not a good game to look at. This game is not high quality, high fidelity graphics, but the art style, artistically, this is a good game to look at for me. And that is my biggest point. I actually like how this game looks. Would I have preferred having a full 3D camera, like in Scarlet and Violet? Absolutely. Would it make the game better? Probably. But does it need it? No, because at the end of the day, this game is a concise region with good design. Something that I wish Scarlet and Violet had. There's no need for it, but I would like a jump button in Pokemon, just so we can get up ledges finally. I think it would break dungeon design, but it would be more fun to do so. And now we get to one of the coolest additions. This is actually something that I wish was in the original games. They hype up the 4 Heavenly Kings. Yes, Shitennou was what they called the Pokemon League in Japan, so Heavenly Kings. 4 of them, anyways. Meanwhile, we have, in the English version, the Elite 4. Which name do I prefer? Well, I grew up with Elite 4, but just in terms of how it sounds, I prefer the Shitennou 4 Heavenly Kings title, because I think it has more of a mystique to it, whereas Elite 4 just tells me 4 really good trainers. Now, don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, it's still the same battles, still the same environment, but just the name adds some effect to it. I'm not sure how it does, but it seems to do so. Right now, Lorelei, or Kanna, has asked us to deal with one of the Team Rocket grunts while she deals with 3 of them. Which brings back the question, why are there no triple battles in this game? Or more accurately, in the 3D series, why are there no triple battles? Triple battles in Black and White 2 were so good. I used to play those all the time in the playground back in school. It was great. I don't know. Maybe it's because competitive didn't really care about them, but they were still fun. At least that's how I see it. Yep. Now, Lorelei's name is hilarious to me because I have heard so many pronunciations of her name. We have Lorelei, 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 and there's more obviously, but effectively, every time I hear a YouTube content creator say her name, I always look forward to how they're gonna pronounce the name. And it's just one of those things that only really happens if you've been around the series long enough. Because at this point, I believe the accepted pronunciation is Lorelei. And then if you're Japanese, the pronunciation has only been one pronunciation, Kanna. Which is a case of future dictating the past. But at the end of the day, that's mostly nerd. That's mostly nerd shit. Most young people probably won't get that, and the casual consumer definitely won't get that. But if you're like me, and you were a dedicated individual to the series, and you really like the series for what it offers, then you know what I'm talking about. I would like to say that the Onyx here, depending on your RNG, you can actually get jump scared by the Onyx, because you're just taking a quick step and BAM! You get jumped by it. And that sort of event is really fun to me. It's not the most polished experience, but most definitely it does get a reaction out of the player. And I do like that. Regarding Rock Tunnel's design, at the end of the day, it's a maze through and through. And the idea was, unless you got the secret technique, you would do this maze in the dark. You know, and that is what created some infamy. Because the game really pushes you towards the flashlight technique, it really doesn't have the same appeal. Doing this rock tunnel maze completely in the dark is one of those things that I just found crazy back in the day. Whereas nowadays, that's not the case. And I should give praise to a few things, such as how when you go into these corners in Rock Tunnel, they actually put items there now. In the originals, those were completely empty and barren. I also think that they shouldn't have scaled Rock Tunnel this hard. They make it so much bigger than it needs to be. I mean, if it was up to me, I would attempt to replicate the game by panel, but something tells me that people would think that the map is too crowded, so I wouldn't force it. But at the end of the day, it's really not the biggest difference, and most definitely, eventually, people will stop caring. Now, regarding the ladder situation, I know why it looks like that, but it just kind of looks cheap. But at least in this case, it does feel like a stylized... It seems like a stylized decision to have the world look like this, whereas Scarlet and Violet just decided to look cheap. It's the difference between an indie 16-bit RPG as opposed to a game along the lines of Octopath Traveler, where that 16-bit art style genuinely looks like an artistic decision and not a budget cut or restriction. And lastly, we're getting onto the final 2 floors of the Rock Tunnel. We're almost out of here. Thank goodness for the power of editing, I can get rid of all of the wild encounters and all of the non-story battles, because it'll save us so much time. And let me put it this way. The Rock Tunnel trip in reality took an hour. I was in this tunnel for an hour. But you don't see that because of the power of editing, and I love that I can do that. And after that battle with the Ace Trainer, obviously, we get some levels, and now our Ivysaur has become Venusaur, my favorite Pokemon. But see, this is my favorite Pokemon. Is this the best Pokemon? No. Is this a Pokemon that I think everyone should like? No. This is just something that I like, and if you like it, great. If you don't, well, that's okay too. Although, at this point, because you're not seeing the battles, you don't see what I'm thinking. I'm starting to realize that Butterfree is no longer cutting it. It's kind of underpowered at this point in the game, to the point where I am thinking of replacing it. But with what? Well, this is Gen 1, so obviously Kadabra. But there's always a chance that I don't add one to my team. I think I will add one to my team just because I think Kadabra is a good Pokemon genuinely, so most likely there'll be a Kadabra on my team. Now, moving upwards, we get to fight some more Pokemon, but this is the last room of the dungeon, so we go downstairs, and then we're in the final section, where we can just go south and get out of here. There are a few trainer battles, but like I said, you don't have to watch them, and because I showed them all off in the Moemon Let's Play, that was a Nuzlocke, you know what's here and what you're missing out on. You're not missing out on too much, but you're missing out on enough that it might affect you if you haven't seen the other one. Although I really don't recommend going back to watch the Moemon series. Not because I don't like it personally, but because my microphone quality back in those days was horrible. Let me just check everybody to make sure they're doing well. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're fine. You're definitely fine. You're great. I'm genuinely surprised that some people actually watched that series when it came out. And that I got a subscriber from it. Memories. That was over a year ago. I can't believe how long I've been doing this. This started as just some hobby that I wanted to do. The greatest definition of a passion project. But it's gotten to a point where I really like doing this. Not to the point of a career, mind you. I don't think I could do that. I think that would still piss me off too much. But just to do it on the side because it's fun, I like that. I genuinely like that. And I can see why, for young people, being a YouTube content creator is one of the most in-demand jobs in terms of what they want to be. But because of the fact that these only really provides entertainment to society and not much else of value, it's not too in demand in the actual job market. Which is why it is concerning that when you ask a lot of young people today what they want their dream job to be, they don't say astronaut or policeman or fireman or university professor. No, a lot of them say something along the lines of, because I remember this, the one that got me was, I was visiting my cousin, and when he was in middle school, he was asked what they wanted to be. He said an engineer, which, okay, that's fine. But on the other hand, he told me about this girl in his class, and for real, dead serious, she said cam model. And I said to myself, how do you know what that is? Okay, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that because of the internet, how should I phrase it? Okay, what I should say is that I grew up with the internet, but the thing is, I usually use the internet to look up information or to watch some YouTube Let's Plays. I didn't use the internet for that when I was their age. And some people are going to say, dude, it's the internet, just who cares? I'm on the side of, like, just get children off the internet. They have no business being on the internet. I say that if you're under 16, same age to get a driver's license, you shouldn't be on the internet. And even then, until you turn 18, you shouldn't be unsupervised on the internet. Because the internet is a crazy place. Now, some people are going to say that that take is radical and unjustified. But after everything I've seen in my life, I have to question if maybe the older generation was right. Okay? At some point, you hear young people say, okay, boomer, enough times, that you question if that even makes sense anymore. At this point, I've also taken the boomer pill and said, in terms of my enjoyment of games, that older games tend to be more fun for me. Again, I don't know if this is objectively true, but every time I think about it and rationalize it to myself, I find it to be the case more and more as time passes on. Whereas other people just say, nah, you're being emotional. But the thing is, if you look at how I analyze, very, very infrequently will emotion appear. More often than not, I'm talking about logistics. Obviously, when I say something along the lines of my favorite X, that is a pure opinionative stance. And here we have the rival fight, who once again got nerfed horribly. As a matter of fact, in the original Red, Blue, Yellow, Green, the rival cheated because his level 22 Gyarados has Hydro Pump. It's one of those things that you just find funny because it's supposed to be a really hard encounter, but in the back of your mind you're thinking, man, this guy's just an awful, dirty cheater. It should not be like that, and yet somehow it is. Still, what I need to do after this is go back to Lavender, because I do leave Lavender, and find the hidden Rocket Grunt. But other than that, I want to thank all of you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, comment on this video and share this video, and have a nice day.